In ancient times, we used the planets we could see with the naked eye. There are amazing observatories I've seen at Maya ruins. The ancients followed the night sky and told stories around the fires at night. I'll use an order for giving you the information on the planets, beginning with the first house, so that I can reinforce what you learned about the houses. The first house is naturally ruled by Mars and the sign of Aries. Mars is force and drive. He's a warrior. It takes Mars 687 Earth days to go fully around our sun. So that means that's how long it takes him to travel through all 12 signs. He is dynamic energy, and when he's transiting points in our chart, he can supercharge them or burn them up. Mars fights for his lover Venus and tries to get her what she wants. So Mars is our desire, and Venus is what we attract and what we're attracted to. Whether we have a propensity for sports or even the drive to get things done is represented by Mars. He's masculine. Yes, the planets have gender, and you can think of him as dynamic energy. Venus, ruler of the second house, and we'll find also the seventh house. She's feminine, and she has feelings. In the second house, she has a great love of beauty. The cycle of Venus around the sun is 225 days. So she's a bit quicker than the Earth because she's closer to our sun. The second house part of Venus loves luxury and comfort, so we don't want to bump her around. Sensitive planets or sensitive transits of the second house can show that we are more sensitive. Venus loves great food and luxury. She can show us how we seduce a lover and whether we are indulgent and how we're attracted to beauty and art. The closest planet to our sun is the ruler of the third house and also the sixth. This is Mercury. He's the messenger. Remember, the third house is about early childhood, education, and little bits of communication. His relationship to the rulership of Gemini shows this, and also his ability to be kind of a gender bender. He is the androgynous one. He's swift and communication, and he shows our intellect. The fourth house is ruled by our moon and the sign of Cancer. Coming around the wheel, the fourth house is ruled by our moon, and it's changing patterns and swift cycles. It takes 29 and a half days for the moon to go completely through all of its mansions if we're looking at the stories through Jyotisha, which is often called Vedic astrology, or to go through all 12 signs of the tropical zodiac timekeeping system. The moon only rules one house, the fourth house, and only one sign of Cancer. The moon represents our mother and our perception of our mother, also nurturing, how we nurture, how we want to be nurtured. The fourth house being at the bottom of the chart, the immune coeli with the moon, tells us about our sensitivities and feelings. Can also help us understand things we might cover up that we don't really understand or acknowledge about ourselves. The fifth house, the sun. Now we know that we are rotating on the earth around the sun, but in a geocentric system, which is what I use, we are putting the earth in the center and acting like the sun is going around. So we know it's just about 365 days. There's actually a little bit that's off, and that's why we play leap year with the current calendar system that we're using. I often wonder why we don't acknowledge the fact that we have 13 moons with 13 months and how that number became so feared. The sun shows our source of creativity, our source of light that gives us life. Our sun sign gets stronger as we age because each year on our solar return, we get charged up by that same energy again. Now, because our calendar system is off from the actual movement of the sun, your birthday, with regards to your astrological chart, could be the day before, the day of, the number day you were born, or the day after. We can imagine self esteem as a part of the sun. The sixth house is co ruled by Mercury. Now, we learned about Mercury and swiftness and communication in his connection with Gemini in the third house. But here, we've got an intellectual, analytical style, which is different. Could it be seen as more evolved? Sure, it could. This part of Mercury shows short journeys. And if you're a writer like me, it could show that you've got unusual books in you, or many books. The seventh house shares the rulership of Venus. Some say the Taurians are the most beautiful, and some say it's the Librians. Whenever Venus is involved, we see great beauty and an appreciation for beauty. Here in the seventh house, it's a little more etheric. Venus wants intoxicating smells, delicious food. Whereas in the second house, maybe more luxury in the environment. Scorpio loves to say change or die. So does Pluto, the ruler of the eighth house. As a matter of fact, he moves very, very slowly. So whichever house he's transiting in your chart, he's going to remain there for quite some time. Because of his travel on the ecliptic, which is like an imaginary equator out in space, that the planets stay within a certain declination of, that means how high or how low to it they can go. His cycle is 270 years. It is true, when Pluto is in particular signs, he moves more swiftly because his shape of orbit is a little bit more like a football. So going around those faster curves at the edges of that shape, Pluto can move very, very fast. Pluto is the journey of the soul. He will unearth who you came to be. Jupiter is male, growth, higher spirituality, higher learning. He's the guru, the grand teacher, the high professor of the planets. He's optimistic and philosophical. Good feelings, faith, the lifting of the spirit, and yes, the ancients even used the word luck. Jupiter shows great loyalty. The 10th house, Saturn in Capricorn. We know Saturn is slow. Saturn is structure. But slow and steady can take us to great heights. Saturn's cycle is 29 and a half years. It can even take a bit longer for Saturn to return because of retrogrades in those return years. Therefore, we astrologers see all of us as being teenagers until we have completed that first Saturn return. So it's okay to act like a teenager in your 20s, as long as you're aware of it and you're making changes. In ancient times, Saturn ruled the sign of Aquarius as well as Capricorn. And I think people forget that Saturn has a rainbow child side. I'm kind of an example of this because I have Aquarius as my rising sign, and I also have Saturn in Capricorn in the 10th house in my chart. So he's letting out some of his other aspects that he gets ignored for often. Aquarius is a humanitarian, and of course Uranus, the sky god, what the planet we call Uranus in English, and I'd like us to change that pronunciation, is now the ruler of the 11th house in Aquarius. The way Uranus flies through the sky is unusual and different. He doesn't want to be like the other children. It takes him 84 years to get around the sun. It's very interesting because around that age is where a lot of people expire or really take a downturn in their health when Uranus returns. Now, Jupiter used to rule Pisces in the 12th house, but now it belongs to Neptune, the ruler of the sea, the misty, confusing god of mythology. It takes Neptune 165 years to travel around the sun and through all 12 signs. Neptune rules the mystics and dreams, but also paranoia. Don't be afraid of Neptune. He's a compassionate planet. And if you're looking for your muse, look to Neptune. Remember, life is how you plan it. The stars are here to guide us, and I am your navigator. Book your appointment for an astrological consultation. And let's see where the planets are transiting you.